Last time I was on here, I feel like I was in the most awful rut ever. It's like an identity crisis post-show, truly, because the structure's gone. Your whole day isn't planned out. And I was struggling with that for honestly a couple months. But then entering Q4, I kind of had like a moment of realization. It's kind of like sink or swim. You got to get up and do the thing. You got to show up no matter how you feel.
But the really hard part is like the weird in-betweens. There's not like an instant payoff and there's not dopamine rush. It's easy to lock in when you're on prep for a show.
At the end of the day, it really is actually my fault. I can't be upset with anyone but myself. And if I don't want to feel this way, then I have to put more effort in because
What's up, Miss Addison?
What's up?
Well, it's Happy New Year.
Crazy. I feel like it's been ages since we've actually sat down and done this.
I know. I've got it. I don't know if you saw the invite, but I did the same thing with Jermaine. I've made it at least monthly, or there's a podcast on the schedule, or we have to sit down and record. Because one of my New Year's resolutions is to average one podcast per week for the entire year. So instead of the 15 or so that I did last year, we're gonna hit that 52 for the year goal.
Yep. Or you'll just be left in December recording like 30 more and
Exactly. Yeah, which I will do. I'm not above doing if I have to hit the goal.
it'll be an insane month.
Yes, I'll put out a podcast a day for the entire month if I need to. Yep, exactly. But give the people an update, I guess, on how kind of the last quarter of 2025 went and where you're at now.
I feel like the last quarter went really well. I can't even remember the last time I was on here, but I want to say it was either before or during prep or right after prep.
Right after prep. I think it was right after maybe Kinsey's prep because I think it was like September, October-ish range.
So last time I was on here, I feel like I was in the most awful rut ever, which I
Yeah.
feel like just comes from post show. It's like an identity crisis post show, truly, because the structure's gone. Like you're not shooting for this like goal. You're not like your whole day isn't planned out. And I was struggling with that for honestly a couple months. But then entering Q4, I kind of had like a moment of realization, like it's kind of like sink or swim, you know? You got to get up and do the thing. You got to show up no matter how you feel, got to be consistent. And that helped. And I feel like I finished Q4 in a really, really good way. Mentally, physically, I felt like I really stepped into my role of being a coach, having the action behind the words and not just telling my clients to do things when I'm not doing them myself. And I feel like that really helped with kind of my alignment and feeling like, okay, I am who I say I am. It's not this imposter syndrome that I'm feeling. But yeah, I feel like I ended Q4 in a really good way. And I was really happy about it.
Yeah, I think you did too. I mean, your clients absolutely crushed it. You have several clients down 10, 15, 20, 30, 40 plus pounds. And I think we saw that too with just how many of them wanted to like extend, work with you longer. I think probably for you and your clients in particular, like how long do you think they stay on average?
I feel like quite a while. Like I have some girls who have been on the team, even a guy who's been on the team for like 2, 3 years now, or going on 3. And a lot of these girls have been with me a year. Some of them had just been at 6 months, but now like going into this next 6 months will be a year. So that's really cool to see because I remember like when I first started, it was just kind of like a phase of life. People would be like friends with me and then we would like work out and I would help them. And then it would just be like, they fall off, whatever. But now it's really cool to see that community growing and having that community aspect. And it's not like a new face every few months, it's people who are sticking in the ecosystem for long periods of time, which I feel like that's when you see the most results and you get the most out of, the work you're putting in, the times you're showing up with the community. So yeah, I would say at least a year or
Yeah, I think that's probably accurate. I mean, it's really cool and it says a lot about kind of how far above and beyond you go and how hard you work for them, is the willingness for them to continue to stay, continue to want to be a part of the community, continue to want to have you as their coach. That's been cool for me to see because your girls definitely show out anytime that we do anything like challenges, anytime that we are trying to get something out there or potentially looking at, we've talked a lot about possibly doing retreats this year for BAM and whatnot. And they're all like the most interested, the most down, the kind of they're the goal like ride or die clients that you want as a coach.
They are. They're great. I love them.
So what are your goals, I guess, headed into this year? Like you talked about wanting to at least get out one post daily. Like what are some other goals that you'd want to share?
Okay, yeah, I actually have like my list. Um, so this year a big thing for me is like consistency, and I feel like I have my moments where every day I'm showing up, I'm doing what needs to be done, and not just the gym. For some reason, I'm pretty good about the gym, but then everything else, like I can go a few days, a week without posting, without talking, without like showing up as who I need to be on like social because social media is like the best marketing and that's me showing my journey and like what I'm doing. And I feel like I've always, especially the last like couple of years, struggled with that. So this year, my goal is to post daily. I want to show up no matter what, no matter how I feel, no matter what I look like, because I am my own worst enemy. Like truly, I feel like that's where I struggle is like I don't look good enough. I'm not shredded enough. I'm not lean enough. I don't have a show that I'm working towards, so why would anyone care to hear? And this year, I'm gonna get out of my own way and I'm gonna do it regardless. I also want to be a lot more consistent with my YouTube because it's a platform that I've honestly enjoy. I feel like it's like me talking to myself to like my audience and it's just a lot of fun and I probably look like the weirdest person ever talking to a camera, but I don't know, I enjoy it a lot and I want to be more consistent there because that gives me the opportunity to really show like who I am, what I'm about, what I do on a day-to-day basis. And I get texts about it from like clients or like, hey, I'm watching, I'm tuned in. I feel like we're on FaceTime. And I feel like that's the best compliment. Like I want to be
Yeah.
able to portray that to people who don't know me, who don't work exclusively with me. So those are a few of like my main goals this year is just get out of my own way and be
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's a big piece of the puzzle. I've seen you and Jermaine especially come a long way in the last like 60 days in terms of that type of thing. I know both of you guys were kind of in a funk after the show. I've seen both of you guys come a long way in terms of like motivation and consistency and showing up and everything in the last 60 days. So it's been really cool. And what do you think was the shift in terms of what made you guys realize maybe there was more on the table or like, what got you guys, I guess, back kind of locked in?
I think we both just kind of like hit a point where, like I said, it was like a sink or swim moment. Like we were not really thriving in business. We were not really thriving on social media. And so at that point, I mean, we kind of sat down and talked about it. You have one of two options. You either make it work, like you're backed into that corner, you find your way out, or you're simply backed into that corner and you like fail. And that's kind of what we chatted about was like, is this something we want to continue to pursue? Like, do we love it enough to keep going and like to dig our way out of this like weird area that we're kind of in right now? Or do we want to just move on to the next thing? And neither of us wanted to move on to the next thing. So that's kind of when we were like, okay, then we've got to set some ground rules for ourselves, set some like daily deliverables, like how can we show up the best in our business, on our social medias. And that's when things started to kind of click. And I feel like you saw that too, obviously being inside the business and watching us kind of change and like, being a supporter of us on social media. But until we started to do that, we were just kind of like in limbo, if you will, which sucks to be in.
It does, it does. And I've been in that kind of zone many, many times where it's easy to talk about something when you got like a launch coming up, or you got a big thing coming up or you wanna make an ask for something, right? But the really hard part is like the weird in betweens, like where you still have to be doing the work, you should be doing the work, but it's not as fun because there's not like an instant payoff and there's not like you're not getting that like kind of dopamine rush from an instant result. And yeah, I think that was something that I had to learn over just like a lot of trial and error as an entrepreneur is that time in the middle is where you end up like not that it's a competition with everybody, but that's where you end up beating people, right? Same thing with fitness, for example. Like the boring times when you're not when it's easy to lock in when you're on prep for a show. right? Everybody can do that. And I'm saying easy relatively. It's easier to go through the hard things because you have like this massive goal and you're seeing the results each and every day and things like that. Versus the weird in between where you might not be cutting yet, you might not be bulking fully yet, or maybe you are, but you know you're gonna go into like a 3-year off season or 2-year off season, like you just got out of a 4-year one. Like that's the hard part is the boring stuff whenever you know like you're not getting crazy shredded, you're not about to go on stage in front of a bunch of people, you're maybe not posting as much, like that is the boring part that's very hard to stick to. Um, because it's you are the only one that knows if you're locked in or not.
Yeah.
And that's the tough part, is like holding yourself accountable when no one else is looking. So it's the same thing. There's a lot of parallels between fitness and business in that way.
There are, and I mean, I feel like it's kinda like you said earlier when we were in our meeting, is that we're so good at the gym, we just have to take that same discipline and have that in all of these other areas of our life, and consistency actually does breed results, like, that does not just go for fitness, like, it does breed results in business too, because the boring, the mundane things, those work, and it's just hard to tell yourself to do it sometimes.
Yeah. No one said it was fun. It's
No,
definitely not.
no.
It's crazy because I feel like to an extent, like social media, fitness, business, they're all to get good at them, they're all some form of like addictions, kind of. And I say that word loosely, but you do see also a lot of times addicts whenever they're like getting out of like their vices, right? They go crazy on social media or they build a massive business or they, get really great, get super jacked or super shredded, right? And I think it's because it does scratch that itch. And I think all of us are addicts to a certain extent. It's just we enjoy different things or are set up for different things. And so there is like a certain level of we all are looking for that payoff, the dopamine rush, the whatever of the thing that we're doing. And so it gets boring whenever those are less frequent. But if you're willing to be addicted enough to like the day to day stuff, to enjoy that. And you can figure out a way to enjoy the day to day or hitting a goal day to day. Like we just broke down our goals into like quarterly, monthly, weekly, daily on our last meeting together. If you can figure out how to enjoy that stuff, that's where you can really see some crazy stuff because a lot of people fall off on that stuff.
Yes, 1000%. And I feel like sometimes we set kinda like you did the 3 tiers of the goals. I feel like a lot of us set, like, these super big, almost, like, unattainable goals, like, goals that we know will be hard to achieve without setting, like, the smaller ones and kind of setting us up for, "Okay, if we can hit this, then, in a couple months, we can for sure hit this, and then by the end of the year, we can reach for" I feel like that's a big thing too, is having those small, more manageable things, making it feel more achievable kind of also helps set you up for, okay, like if this is all I need to do to get to this point, then like for sure I can get to the next and the next. And I feel like that's another big, I don't know, game changer, if you will, is setting the attainable goals that you can achieve so that
Mhm.
the other ones feel more manageable.
Yeah. The framework that you're referring to that we actually talked about on Jermaine's podcast a little bit too, but the one that I developed for it is rock, road, rail. So what the rock is the big, like kind of boulder, the main goal that we're trying to hit. The road is what's the path to that we have to take to actually get to moving that rock. And then the rail is like the daily rhythms that we have to do each day that keep us on the path to hit the goal. And I think a lot of people say something for the year of like, I want to make X amount of money. And then they're just like, that's my goal. Cool. I'd set up my goals for the year. Or I want to read a book per month. It's like, cool. That seems pretty straightforward. Like, we're good there. But if you don't go and see for your month one book how many pages there are and how many pages you need to read per day to read the full book by the end of the month, you might read a general 10 pages per day. And then it's a 500-page book. And then all of a sudden you've got 200 pages that you have to read on the last day of the month because you didn't figure out how many you actually had to read to get your goal, right? And it's like if you set up an income goal and you don't break that down in like month by month, or if you're in a sales position, probably day by day, how many conversations you got to have, how many leads you need, how many people you have to close every week. then you'll get to the end of the year and be like, "Oh, I wanted to make this much, but and I thought I was doing well, but because I didn't set anything up, like I'm actually way off of what I wanted to kind of make." So that's one thing that I've learned too is just like you have to break it down. Like start with the end in mind, the big rock, and then if you can figure out, okay, what's my path to getting there? Cool. And then if you can figure out the daily things that you have to do to move the needle and push it in the direction that you want it moved, even if you don't get all the way to your goal, even if you get 80% of your goal or 85% or 90 or 95%, that's still, you got way closer, right? Rather than just like picking an arbitrary target down the road and then just throwing a dart somewhere and then it just lands, right? Like you have a lot more control and a lot more guidance if you do it that way. With it being the new year, a lot of people are setting goals, right? They're setting stuff that they want to accomplish. And we see it, especially in our industry, every single year of, people setting a goal or having a New Year's thing. What do you think is the biggest mistakes people make with setting, besides what we've already talked about, a fitness goal for a new year? What are the biggest mistakes people make that keep them from achieving it?
I think the biggest thing is probably setting goals. Not that they're unrealistic, but setting the big overarching goal. Like, let's say I want to lose 150 pounds this year. Okay, that's great. But I feel like the longer you're having to work towards this big goal, the harder it feels, the less attainable it feels, the more likely you are to just give up on that because you're like, well, I can't do that, you know? So something I told a lot of my girls is set small goals, goals that you can achieve on a daily basis, like your non-negotiables, goals that you can set on a weekly or a monthly basis. And if you're achieving those and you're having those small wins, they add up, they motivate you, they keep that fire lit. You're not always going to feel motivated, but they kind of provide that push like, I just achieved this. I don't want to give up now. And it'll get you to where you want to be eventually. So I think that's the biggest thing is people set like huge goals and they have big goals in mind, which is great. I mean, drink big, dream big, think big. Like those are good things. Like you want that kind of like fire in you, but I feel like a lot of us, just human nature, we tend to give up. We tend to like, oh, well, maybe next year because it feels less and less attainable the further away it is. And if we're not like winning, because we love to win, who doesn't love a win, right? If we're not seeing those little wins here and there, then it's kind of like, well, this isn't even worth it. I don't even care about this. I'm not, nothing's coming from it. Nothing good is happening. And then we just give up. I feel like that's the biggest problem when it comes to setting these fitness goals is not that they're not attainable. It just doesn't feel like you're making a lot of progress that fast because it doesn't happen that fast.
Yeah. I think too, to almost echo or do like an adjacent point to you is people will be too aggressive with a resolution, right? And they'll do something that is not sustainable for them, right? So they'll say something like, I want to work out every single day of 2026. It's like, if you were working out once a week before, and then you just think January 1st rolls around and you're going to all of a sudden be able to do a workout every single day, like that's a big, big gap from what you were previously doing. So the likelihood of you making it 365 days working out every single day when you worked out 50 days last year, like that's going to be very hard. You're setting yourself up for some sort of failure. We've talked about it before on the podcast, and we've talked about it before with BAM clients. Is like my friend, he didn't create this, but he was the one that communicated it to me, so I always give him credit for it. But Matt Vincent, he talks about the floor and the ceiling. So if you have like a resolution or a goal that you're going to set, you need to set the floor, which is like the minimum acceptable amount that allows you to check this day off and be like, yep, I did it. And then the ceiling, like what is like perfect, amazing, maximum look like? And so he's like, if you're going to set a goal of like working out or getting in movement every single day, the floor might be you rolled out of bed and you did 10 push-ups, right? The ceiling might be you went to the gym, you did a full hour training session, then you did 25 minutes of cardio, then you went into the sauna, then you went into the cold plunge, and then you got back all before work and were ready to go crush the day. Like that might be the ceiling, right? But as long as you have a minimum and a maximum acceptable amount, like there's some wiggle room in there to make it more sustainable for you and to where missing, if we set that top day, right, as like, this is what I expect every single day, that's not not doable every single day. We're not going to have 10 out of 10 workouts and be able to cold plunge and sauna and all those things every day. So not doing that one day makes it a failure and makes you very likely to just stop trying the goal or stop doing the resolution the first time that you don't hit that. When in reality, it's great habits to have. It's a great goal to do, but understand it's just not going to look like that every single day.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I just had one of my previous clients came back on the team yesterday, and on our call, obviously, when she was with me for her first length of time, she was going to the gym, 5 times a week. She was working out, she was doing like her nutrition, all that good stuff. But life happens, things change. So now she's coming back, and she was like, I mean, I'm really busy. I have a lot of obligations right now. Like, I want to make it work, find a way to get back in the gym. And she was talking about like maybe I could go like 4 to 5 times a week. And I was like, reel it back. You're not doing anything at the like right now. You're not going to the gym right now. So instead of throwing nutrition at you, throwing 5 sessions a week at you and just kind of overwhelming your schedule, we're going to shoot for maybe 3 times a week. And then if you feel comfortable, we'll hit a fourth. And then
Mhm.
same thing with nutrition. Instead of just throwing it all at you when you haven't tracked anything for the last, 5, 6 months, let's start slow and let's add the protein goal back in. Let's get you familiar and in a routine and a habit of tracking because you're completely right. I feel like people like, for lack of better terms, they like to go balls to the wall with a goal.
Mhm.
And then as soon as they like start to fall off and feel overwhelmed and feel stressed, that's the first thing to go.
Mhm.
So if you do, and I mean, a lot of people are hardcore and like you shouldn't ease yourself in, don't give yourself grace. But in my opinion, I mean, we all have a different 24 hours. Like your 24 hours looks a lot different from mine, from our parents, from, our sister. Like everyone looks a little bit different and the obligations they have, the responsibilities that they have, the jobs. And so finding something that works for you, not against you, kind of, I mean, it's not always going to be seamless, but kind of seamlessly like works into your schedule rather than making you feel overwhelmed and stressed. Like those are the things that you want to do, especially when it comes to some kind of, fitness New Year's resolution.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. I think too that it just sets yourself up for more. The right word is probably not enjoyment, but it sets yourself up less, I guess, like shame or disappointment, right? Whenever you do set up goals in that way and you slowly work into those things. Cause I used to be the all or nothing guy of like, listen, you need to be working out 5 times a week. Like you're working out 0 times a week right now. Just work out 5 times a week. Like just quit being weak, go to the gym 5 times. Like, it's not that hard. And then again, like you said, like it takes some maturing to realize, like, listen, some of these people have kids. Some of these people have like very demanding jobs. Some of them are a very physical job. Like it's a totally different situation for each and every person. And it's got to have a customized approach, which is why I think like what you do, what Jermaine does, what the coaches that we work with do is so important because it's not a cookie cutter type of approach. And it can't be for someone to truly see success and have the right plan for them. Whenever you're thinking about business, I guess let's pivot back to business then. Whenever you're thinking about these goals or things that you have in business, how do you manage I guess the tough times, like we were talking about this morning, the times where you have like those massive wins where you're on cloud nine versus the times where you're like, am I even cut out for this? Should we continue to do this? Like, how do you manage the highs and lows, or how do you think about them?
Gosh, I remember like I can't even maybe it was like a year ago when I was like just you and I would call you like pretty frequently and I'd be like, Baker, I don't know. Maybe I should just go back to school. Maybe I shouldn't do this full time. Maybe I need to stay in my part-time job so that I have like something secure. But I feel like from those times, from leaving like that safety and security of, the consistent paycheck and all of that, I've kind of learned that it truly like effort no, results are truly a reflection of your effort. So, like, if I'm not like, I used to be like, "Oh, that's just, like, not doing good. It's not my fault." But, like, now after doing this for a few years, like, I know that it is, like, at the end of the day, it's on me. So I can't really be upset with anyone except for myself, and that's kind of where him and I had that conversation this year as we were like, I mean, there's no one to blame here but you and I. We have not put our best foot forward. We have not been that consistent on social media. So at the end of the day, it really is actually my fault. And that's kind of how I mean, I can't be upset with anyone but myself. I can't be angry or take it out on anyone else. I just have to sit there and reflect and be like, listen, if I don't want to feel this way, then I have to put more effort in because the results aren't going to come if I'm not putting effort in. I mean, it's so true. There are lots of, parallels between business and fitness. Like if I'm not putting the effort in the gym, I would not have seen the results that I have today. If I'm not putting effort in like business, I would not see the results that came in like Q4. So really, I just learned that it is on me and the tough times do suck. They are rough, but they come and that's part of being an entrepreneur. And I feel like it's funny because I wanted to talk about this earlier. I feel like it's so glamorized to be an entrepreneur and you see the trips and the traveling and it's so fun and you're making so much money. Where's my trip? Where's my Like none of that. Like it's not like that. Like for the normal businesses that are running and just like making day-to-day operations. I mean, even for you guys in AR, like you don't have the time right now to do that. You don't have like your all of your efforts. I mean, I know you talked about it maybe with Jermaine in his podcast, but with us that you only had time to go to the gym like 3 or 4 times last month because of
Mhm.
all of the work that you guys had to do to close out Q4. And I feel like that's such a real thing. So that was really long-winded, but at the end of the day, I know that the tough times are kind of a reflection of me, not of anything else. All I can do is pick myself back up and move forward and do better.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I think, like, entrepreneurship and business I mean, even fitness, again, we keep talking about the parallels, but it all ends up being a mirror. Like you said, it's a direct result of your efforts, and so, really, if you're not achieving what you wanna achieve, it's just you just gotta look into a mirror and say, "Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing to
Yeah,
achieve that thing?"
probably not.
And probably not. Yeah, you're exactly right. I feel like people that have been listening to the pod since day one, they've seen a massive evolution in kind of you, and especially in terms of your content. Because at first, when we would talk about like me kind of like pressuring you on the pod to like people want to see more YouTube, people want to hear you talk, people want to blah 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 blah. And now you're focusing on those things, and you show up. I feel like a lot different. So, what has that shift been like for you? Because there might be some even coaches that are listening to this that are maybe stuck where you were 2 years ago when this whole thing kind of started.
I feel like for the longest time, I was so caught up in like the influencer, the name, the likes, the comments, the shares. And while those are good because it obviously pushes your social media, to a certain extent, it could be like holding you back. And I feel like that's where I held myself in that area for a really, really long time. And I didn't really see like the true, I guess, fruits of my labor until I finally just kind of got over my ego. I kind of let those things go and I had to understand that like the most important thing to me is are my clients thriving? Is like business thriving? Like it's like that's where my time and efforts are and that's where I want them to be. So putting more effort into that and talking to the people that like I work with and that would want to work with me that are like those people, that at the end of the day is the most important thing. And I think I mean, you know this because you know I'm stubborn. I'm very stubborn. I am. And I just would not get out of my own way and try new things. And then once I did, I was like, wait, this is kind of fun. Like, I remember, I think I just hit 2K subscribers on YouTube, which took me forever. And my goal is to hit like 5 to 10K this year. And that's going to take a real long time. But I remember like when I first started posting on YouTube and I did it in December, I did it in Vlogmas and I was like every single day. Doesn't matter if it's 5 minutes, I'm gonna post something, it's gonna be out there, and then I saw my subscribers climb from, like, 100, 200, 500, 800, and I was like, "Wait, what?" Like, people are tuning in, and so I feel like that's where I learned, like, people connect with the talking, with you showing who you are, and nobody really cares about your physique. I mean, I post workouts occasionally now, sometimes I'll post pictures and whatnot, but I feel like a lot of the growth that I've had as an individual and within the things that I do is simply from being me and not being just a face with a physique, you know?
Yeah. No, I think you're absolutely right. And I mean, you were even talking about earlier, people are like, hitting you up, asking you about specific sauces that you use in your YouTube videos or your teeth routine because they see you talking and see that you have really white teeth or they see you like doing your get ready for bed thing and they're like, "Wait, what was that you just used?" Like that's showing a deeper level of connection and you feel accessible, right? Like that's another thing that that I took from that is you're not coming across as like unrelatable or not, I guess unrelatable really. Just like you don't come across as like unreachable to these people. You come across as like, oh, she's like a friend. Like I'm watching her and even though she might not know me or I might just be like a subscriber or whatever. I feel like I'm one of her friends and like plugged into everything that she's doing because of the way she shows up. So I think it's really cool to kind of see you develop there.
Yeah, it's fun. I also just enjoy it too, and I feel like it just gives me because I feel it's so hard to become like, come across as a person over social
Mhm.
media because everyone just sees you like, "Oh, they don't have feelings, like, it doesn't matter what I say to them." But then using platforms like a TikTok and a YouTube, people start to see, oh, hey, like they do the same things as me, or they, eat the same things, or they're, what the products they use for their teeth. Like you start to get curious about that because you realize they are literally just like me and they're just sharing it. And I feel like that has helped me come across as more of a human with actual human feelings and doing human things rather than like some kind of robot. And I remember like in one of our team calls, one of our clients said, it's good to hear sometimes that you guys, like, mess up too, or that you guys struggle with these things too, because it makes you feel more human. Whereas people on social media, I mean, you see all these people doing big things or, always posting the chicken and rice, but never sharing the, "Oh, I had a craving for a burger," or "I went off track today," or
Mhm.
and it's little things like that, I feel like that go a long way so that they know, "Okay, my coach is not like this person on a pedestal, like, they're right here, they're just supporting me on that journey as well," and I feel like that, I don't know, just really resonates with people.
Yeah. You can always help somebody that if you're even one step ahead of them, you can help them. So that's always important to remember in terms of confidence that you can provide value to somebody, but also just understanding like it is valuable for someone to pay some sort of money, dedicate some sort of resources in order to get to a different level. And if you are on a higher level or a level that they want to get to, that is worth time, money, resources and able to get like people pay for that to skip levels, to skip trials, to skip the errors that that you had to go through in order to get there. Yep. Let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about what are you excited for this year?
I'm excited for a new year. I'm excited for some things I can't say. I don't know. I think it's going to be a good year. I feel like we have some big changes coming up. We have, goals on the calendar as a business. I have goals on the calendar as an individual. Things just feel like they're starting to move in the right direction and on the right track. And it's the first time I feel like I've kind of entered a year like feeling more confident in what's to
Mhm.
come and what to do to get there. Whereas some years, I mean, last year when we put like our BAM revenue goal or like my personal revenue goal, I was like, there's no way. There's no way. Like, how would that happen? And then we hit it. And I feel like we both kind of stepped into the roles of coaches, of business owners, like really putting that into action.
Mhm.
So going into 2026, I'm like, okay, I'm ready. Like I can take it on. I can do the challenges. I can sit down and tell myself to actually work for this many hours and, not give up and not be lazy. And I feel like that's an exciting thing going into this year.
Yeah. Excited. Definitely excited for that. Well, I mean, what else do you have? Do you have anything else that you want to kind of talk to tell people to start the year? Any questions you have for me? Anything else there?
I mean, you could share your big goals. I mean, you had like your best year yet as an entrepreneur, and I know you guys are looking to do even better this coming year. So if you want to share some of your 2026 goals or things you learned in 2025, I think people would like to hear that too.
Yeah. I mean, for obviously I have revenue goals. I talked a little bit about what Jermaine, the kind of spiritual goals. I want to read the entire Bible. So I've been kind of breaking that down and figuring out what that looks like day to day, week to week. We're going to donate 100,000 meals in AR. That was a big push of mine at the end of last year. Is like we need to have some way that we're giving back, and so I had been doing a ton of research on like the right people to partner with and how to do it, and we found one and we're going to go tour at the end of this month their facility and try to work out like a partnership with them. Goal there is to donate 100,000 meals, create a big impact there. And then, yeah, I want to double AR. I think the number we ended up finalizing for BAM is like 1.5x BAM, which is basically what we did this year. Uh, and then I would say the biggest thing that I learned last year is to stop playing the game at the level I'm currently at and start to plan for growth. Because what I kept doing and what kept as like COO of AR, what I kept doing was I would wait until things were not working. And then I'd be like, oh, well, they're not working because they were built for this previous stage. They're not built for this current stage. And then I would build for the current stage. And then you finish that, and then things are kind of smooth for a while. And then like if you do it right, you keep moving, and then you have the exact same problem just like a couple of weeks or months down the road where you're like things aren't working again. Why are they not working? Oh, because I built it for the current stage back then, and like now I got to update it to be here. And I did that for probably a year and a half, 2 years of the business. Was like, let me just figure out what it needs to look like right now, building it for right now. And I just had a lot of like a series of events, I think, that just kind of like opened my mind up at the end of this year, like pretty much like September and on, to where I just decided I've got to shift my way of thinking. And so I started building for like 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 10 levels down the road, that it feels silly to a certain extent of like the amount of meetings or us calling certain things departments when there are only a couple people right now, or putting an agenda on every single meeting, or making people report the things that we're making them report and getting the numbers that we need from everybody, making sure they all have a number assigned to them, they're all responsible for something and all. But in doing so, like, it's enabled a lot more growth. It's enabled a lot better communication. There's so much more clarity on everybody's fronts, and everyone sees like where we're headed, right? And although we're still growing into the infrastructure that I kind of built out on the AR side, it's like, it's great because we could have 10 more employees tomorrow, and they all have the right things that they need to be able to be trained into their roles. They're all going to have set meetings that they would be on with their departments or their leadership or the entire company, weekly meetings that we have. And so it's like the whole thing can flex, can like just, it's growing into what we have built infrastructure wise, not going to flex and break something. So I think that's what I learned is, and I noticed it after I kind of came to that conclusion, that a lot of businesses, a lot of coaches do the same exact thing. Is like they wait till something's broken, then they fix it for where they're currently at, and then it breaks again because they just did it for where they're currently at. They didn't do it for where they want to go. So that was a big unlock for me. I feel like is just I have these massive goals. This is where I want to go. Why would I not build for where the massive goal is so that I can grow into that versus building for where I'm at right now and expecting that to work the same when the company is twice as big?
Yeah.
It's not obviously going to work.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I
I
don't know
think
if
it
that makes
also
sense.
sets like yeah, it does. I feel like that also sets like expectations for everyone in your environment too, because
Hmm.
I feel like sometimes, especially like as a company's growing, people may not take it as serious or they're like, "Oh, this isn't a regular job." But then you set all those expectations and everyone's like this is this is real. Like I need to do what I need to do and stay on top of it. So I feel like that's really, really good.
Yeah. So I think that was my biggest kind of block. And then just not waiting on anybody. I've got certain things like, I mean, if I hadn't just taken it on my own and just built it, like we wouldn't have Check-ins Pro, which absolutely crushed Q4. We wouldn't have like the new infrastructure. We wouldn't have like this whole new arm of the business. We wouldn't be doing the workshops that we want to do. Like I want to do 7 figures just in workshops and events this next year. And so I've spent an exorbitant amount of time planning those out and what do those look like? And we've gotten great feedback on those so far. So it's just like I'm can't wait on anybody. I got to do the work myself and get it done, but I have to build it in a way that fits into the master plan and make sure that it all kind of jives. So I don't know. I'm kind of rambling at that point, but that was my biggest, I think, takeaways from 2025 is just build for where you want to go, not for where you're currently at, and give yourself an actual runway to get there.
Yeah. And I feel like you've done a really good job about that is like kind of expressing your like creativity, if
Hmm.
you will, in entrepreneurship and just being like the co-owner of the company. I feel like that gives you some more freedom to
Hmm.
just like you have this idea, okay, how can I make it happen? Or can I build this out and then share it with everyone and see their thoughts? Which I feel like that's been really cool to see because all of your ideas have absolutely crushed so far.
Well, to be clear, I had a lot of ideas for a long time that did
Okay,
not
but
do
okay, that's another
anything.
good point, is it has
Yeah,
taken you a while to get to this point, but
long
now that you
time.
have these ideas and they're all kind of aligning with things that you enjoy, things that you like, the technology
Mhm.
side, the fitness side, the coaching side, it's kind of all mashed into one, and now you're getting to, like, build in this one area, and I feel like you've crushed it, so it's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, and it being more organized on the business front and systems front and ops front, it what I'm noticing is it allows although it's very troublesome and, like, trying to build it and picture out what do things look like at that level that I've never touched before, right? Whenever you do build it out and the system is kind of going, it feels very stressful, but when it's going, it reduces so much stress, it reduces so much time that is necessary, and it has opened up more space for me to like play, so to speak, like to be able to be creative and like work on projects that maybe I don't need to loop anybody else into yet, but it's got promise and I can fully flesh out an idea to where it's like by the time I take it to everybody else because I don't want to distract anyone, by the time I take it to everyone else, it's like it's like a little toddler of an idea instead of it just being like a seed, right? Of just like, this could be cool, right? Like, here's all these different paths we could go and blah, blah. It's like, no, like this is already existing. We could do this. All we got to do is just press go. Do you guys like it? Yes or no? So that makes it a little bit easier to do that too. Yeah, I'm excited. I know 2025 was the biggest year so far of like most pivotal, I think, year of my life so far. I know 2026 is going to be more so because of a lot of factors. So yeah, it's all exciting.
It's gonna be a
Crazy but
fun
exciting.
time. Excited for what the year is to bring.
Yes, me too. But that's all I got for you. I know we're a little bit over time here. Appreciate you. I know you're busy and hopping on here and taking the time. Very excited to see you and Jermaine and the company and everything continue to grow and just your growth as your big brother.
Thanks. I'm excited to see yours too. It's
Mhm.
so weird. It's like the evolution that we were like, at each other's throats and fighting constantly when we're like 10 and 11 to now being 25 and 26, 27
I'm 27.
and 27. It's crazy to like see that and like get to go through all of like the crazy milestones and whatnot together. I don't know. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I can't remember if I was talking to Jermaine or Kinsey or who it was um, the other day on our walk, but I was telling they were saying like, "You and Addie have always been this close, huh?" Or something. And I'm like, "No." And Addie and I hated each other for a good chunk of our lives. So, and I was like, but I think that's why we were so close because we were close in age, and like that's a normal sibling arc is to like be close, then really not be close, then be close again as you kind of mature and get older.
Yeah, yeah. Because you have those stages where you're just figuring things out, becoming an individual. You don't always align, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, as we've kind of like I feel like really the last like what, 6, 7 years,
Hmm.
8 years or so, really ever since like college, and even then it was still back and forth. But now I feel like it's really cool to see us kind of evolve into like actual, friends, business partners, and
And adults and
we're
fully functioning members of society. Who would have
yeah,
thought?
crazy.
Who would have thought?
Who would have thought?
Well, you guys can expect a monthly episode from Addie, monthly episode from Jermaine. Subscribe if you haven't already. Go subscribe to Addie. She's doing a lot of cool stuff on her YouTube. I appreciate you guys. Appreciate you, Addie. We'll
Yeah, of
see
course.
you here soon.
Yes, next time.
Yep.
Bye.
All right. See you guys.